What's up, everyone? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with the overall market. Let me first mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. So right now, the market is tanking as we're getting some very, very negative news. The first thing worth mentioning is that in Japan, they had the second worst day in history amidst some very, very bad news that has come out. And we're actually seeing not only a big drop, but we're actually seeing an even larger drop than what we saw during the Black Monday crash of 1987. And also, South Korea has halted all sell orders as the stock market is tanking and the panic selling has arrived. So, what's going on? One thing worth mentioning is the fact that in Japan, what's essentially happening is we saw inflation not only go up, but a lot of fear building because of that. As a result, we've seen another rate hike. Instead of cutting in rate with interest rates, instead of keeping them the same, in Japan they've actually raised rates, and that's led to so much fear, so much uncertainty, and so much anticipation of more economic downturn. So that's very, very important in Japan, and there's been a lot of talk about how this is going to affect the U.S. as well. There's been a lot of talk about this all over the news. We're actually seeing the yen strengthening to its highest level against the dollar since January, and that's very, very important. This is once again fueling the weakness that we are seeing. But it's not just that. Don't forget, Japan has a big effect in the US, not to mention other pieces of economic data. The UK and European markets are also falling amidst fears of the US entering a recession, and that has more to do with the data that came out over the last couple of days. So that fear is building up on top of all this fear from Japan. So Japan and the US are the ones leading the way the market's moving. Don't forget that Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett, they sold large amounts of their stakes. Warren Buffett sold half his Apple shares. And we're actually seeing them holding $277 billion in cash, largest cash hoard in history. On top of this, there's so much fear building up, especially because of the jobs numbers that came out. And for earnings, we just have Berkshire Hathaway and Palantir. So, as a reminder, on Thursday, we got the economic data that was not too good. The manufacturing numbers were very, very weak and showing lots of weakness in that sector. For Friday, we had the unemployment numbers. They were, very, very high, showing more and more signs of fear, more signs of a recession. This is what actually triggered a lot of recessionary indicators. And then today's Monday, we have more data coming out. At 9:45, we have the SP Global Composite PMI and Services PMI. This is not that significant, might cause somewhat of a move. But at 10 o'clock a.m. today, we have the Services PMI, employment, new orders, and prices. If the services sector is showing contraction is very weak, this could lead to the market tanking even more. So you guys want to be very careful with this data coming out. Manufacturing was very weak. The unemployment numbers, were increasing. So there is a risk of services not being too good, and this could lead to a big drastic change. However, there's a big however, if the data is decent, could cause the market to bounce. So we'll just have to wait and see. But as of right now, we are looking more and more bearish. So for SPY, I just wanted to say that we are continuing to dip. We have this resistance to watch for around this 515 area. If that breaks, I'd be looking for basically 520 on SPY. We got to reclaim 520 to try to rebound at least a little bit. If we start dipping more, make sure you watch this previous resistance becoming support at the 510 zone. If that fails, this could easily start dipping to low levels like 503. And if 503 fails us, 500 is likely going to be coming, followed by 492. So make sure you watch those levels on SPY. We're barely holding up right now, but just note that there's no true sign that we've bottomed and there is a risk of more downside, especially when you look at the data that's coming out. So watch the data at 10 o'clock a.m. We'll see how things end up looking and just be very mindful of that. For Bitcoin's dipping. We're barely at 50,000. If that does not hold, I'll be looking for basically the 48,000 area. If we do hold this, look at resistance at 52,000, but we look more bearish in my opinion. For Nvda, we're barely at this support at 92. This is where this imbalance happens to be. For a rebound, you want to see it break past 97. If it doesn't break past 97 to get back up above 100, watch 92. If we don't hold that, we're dipping down to 88 and then much lower levels, such as 84. But we look more bearish on Nvidia, so please be very careful. For ES, for those who are interested, we're barely at 5,200. Look at that as resistance. If that breaks, look at 52.50. Otherwise, we are still looking more bearish. Tesla's down. Looking back at it, we're down like 9%. We have resistance currently around this 190 area. If we break 190, I'll be looking all the way up towards right over here, this 197 area. If we can try to break past that, and if that breaks, 202 is going to be our next resistance. If we start dipping, watch 185 as supports. If that fails us, I think we're going all the way down to not only 180, but potentially even 174. That's where we have another imbalance. So be careful at Tesla. We still look bearish. There's no sign of a bounce yet, but just be mindful of the big reaction when it gets to the services data, and we still look bearish to me. QQQ is also looking more bearish in terms of its trend. We got to try to reclaim at least 430 to try to rebound. If we do reclaim 430, I'll be looking for this next resistance around 434 to see if we could reclaim that to bounce. If we reject to continue to fall, we'll be basically looking for, first off, we have 425 as support. If that fails us, we're dipping all the way down to 420. Got to see if we hold that. If that does not hold, the full measured move takes us all the way down to at least 413. So it looks like buyers might try to defend us in the morning, hitting 430, but then that doesn't matter as much. What's going to matter is what kind of reaction do we get to the services data that's coming out at 10 a.m. We could still get a rug pull, so you want to be very careful, be very mindful of all of that. Aapl dumped, it's down almost 10%, especially after the news that Warren Buffett sold a large percentage of his stake. Going to be looking at this support at 196. If we lose that, the imbalance takes us down to 192. Watch resistance at 200. If that breaks, we'll be looking for basically 202, then eventually 207. If we break that, we could rebound, but we are looking more bearish in my opinion. For others out there, we have the IWM. We look more bearish. Got a big rejection, at least thus far. We'll be looking for this 198 support. If that does not hold, we're going all the way down towards 194. We also have resistance at 200, not to mention 202. But we are favoring downside right now, so be careful. Let me just go over a few more. Amazon's looking more bearish. We're continuing to fall. We're barely at 155. Look at 152 as key support. If we lose that, we could be dipping all the way down towards, we have much lower levels, like 148 coming. We have resistance around this, basically around 157.5. If that breaks, I'll be looking for 160. But this chart is favoring the downside. For Meta is also just barely holding this 444 area, and we have resistance at 452. If we break through that, I'll be looking for 460. If we reclaim 460, we could rebound. If we fail to do so, watch 444. If we lose that, we're going to be looking for a big dip all the way down to about 425. So we're just barely holding critical support on Meta. Microsoft is trying to rebound a little bit. If we rebound, make sure you look at resistance around this 394 area, 395 area. If that's reclaimed, we're going back up to 400. If we end up losing support at 385, we're easily going to be dipping all the way down towards 380, so be careful. I am seeing buyers trying to defend it, so it might try to bounce a little bit. Same thing with Google. Look at 160's resistance. If this breaks, look at 162. If we reclaim that, we're going to bounce. If we lose support at 155, we're going to be looking for, if we lose support at 156, we'll be looking for a dip all the way down towards 154. Then our next support is going to be at 150. But we look more bearish overall. We're actually seeing a downtrend, so we'll just have to give this some time just to see how things develop. Keep in mind the VIX is up 135%, so be mindful of that. The market's been down quite a bit, but there's no guarantee that we're done from here. There's no guarantee that selling is done because we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get upon open, not to mention all this data release. All right, so that's it for my video. Thank you all for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon in just a few hours. Thank you and peace out.